of two task force meetings that we host every year. The first person I wanted to introduce is Amanda Luker. Amanda Luker is our program manager with ADEQ, and she joined us this morning. Amanda, would you like to say a few words?
Mary, just good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Yes, we're happy to have you because there's been a couple of them that you haven't been able to make. Amanda has the pleasure of reading through the entire annual report, of which I'm going to bring a couple highlights for everybody just to share. The full Monty, the entire document is online for your viewing pleasure. But first, we're going to call to order. We are at 10:04. We're starting the meeting. Looks like we have, let's see here. We have 25 people online, so we're happy that you're spending a portion of your morning with us today. The TRP task force is written into the ordinance and what we have to do as the lead agency. So Pima Association of Governments is the lead agency for the travel reduction program. So we'll get rolling. We do capture in kind for this meeting. So anybody who's not paid with federal dollars, we capture the time that you spend here. We use in kind to match against federal dollars across all programs at our agency. And so when this concludes, Bree, who is our co-pilot here, she will summarize everybody who has attended and logged in today, and then we capture that and match against federal funds and it can be anywhere from 5.7 to 10%. So also, just as a note, when we do the surveys every month, and each of you have a different month, we are able to capture the time that people use to provide their responses to the surveys, and we also report those every month. And for TRP, we're like the golden goose. We generate about $200,000 in kind each year. So, all right. So we've done our duty of calling to order and in kind, and now we will start to share with you all the fun things that have happened this year. So I'll start with the annual report highlights. Each year in September, we summarize all the activities that we have for TRP. And this year in 2025, happy to report, TRP has been going for 25 years, engaging with major employers in Pima County. And as a TCM, we're a transportation control measure. I always applaud that those that came before us and wrote those ordinances wrote it in such a way that it can't go away based on changing of the guard or who's in office, because the substitutions require that something must be permanent and measurable, and often the options that are available, such as trading out every gas pump in the region, is cost prohibitive. So this is a program that's been going for a very long time. Amanda, who said good morning to everybody. Amanda is our program manager with ADEQ. Each year we put together a scope of work and a budget, and ADEQ is who funds the work that we do. All of the funding that they provide is spent on payroll, because we don't have, well, 99% of it. We do have to put some other incidentals and software and rent in there, but for the most part, we don't do much except for pay for people to run the program. So myself and Thomas Robertson, who is also on today, he is my partner in crime. You often get emails from him with his signature block. You probably get a lot of phone calls from him because he is really good at picking up the phone and calling people and seeing if they need help. So if you have anything that is a question, you can ask either one of us and we will do our best to help you.
Thank you, Mary.
And thank you always, Thomas. So as you can see, when he responds, we always joke that he has the great voice. So if you want to listen to something that sounds like radio, you call Thomas. So annual report. What is it? I shared that it's a summary of activities, and we like to identify all the advancements or the innovations that we've done. Peter Krozak, who is our developer, who has worked to create the online platform that all of you used for the survey. That is a homegrown, built in-house system, and it sits on top of our software that we use for the CRM that is called RidePro, offered by TripSpark, which is the company. Peter has worked tirelessly to make sure when we blow things up or break stuff that he works all the bugs out, and he's our safety net. He's not on the call, but we are eternally grateful for all of his wizardry that he has done. I'll be touching on some new things in just a little bit. But the innovation that we've been able to install, deploy on the online platform has afforded us to be able to run this program with about 1.3 FTEs. So we're very, very efficient. We're very automated. And as you know, all of the surveys that we do every year, that generates a lot of data that we then report to ADQ monthly and also with the annual report. So when we look at our annual report and what we shared with Amanda and her team, I can honestly say that TRP is super consistent. We have slight fluctuations in a few things, but for the most part, the metrics that we state and we report in our annual summary, that it's things vary just a little bit. The one metric that does go up and down, and what we are seeing a lot of recently, is that the total employee count across the program is the metric that changes the most. We were super excited in July that we were right on the doorstep of 150,000 employees being covered by TRP. But with some adjustments, we are now hovering around 145,000 because we've had some major employers that have taken a dip. And then when we look at one of the tables that we have in the annual report, if you're interested, you can look at page 8. It's posted on the PAG website. We can look at the 5-year trends for alt mode participation, total employees, response rate percentages, etc. Those are all pretty steady. They might go up ever so slightly, but we're very consistent. As an example, we had in 2024, which by the way, when we report the metrics for the survey, it's January to December. So the numbers that are in our annual report are for January through December of 2024. We had an increase of 11,343 survey responses. So out of the entire year and all the employers that we worked with, we had 55,036 responses versus 43,693 in 2023. That seems like a huge jump. Ironically, because of the total number of employees, the response rate in 24 was 45%, which was down 2% from 2023. So it went down to 45 versus 47.1. So as we know, it's always a calculation. So if you have a bigger pool, larger number of people, even though your responses go up, you can have a decrease in response rate. One-way miles driven, average people in a carpool, and number of alt mode days that employees were logging were unchanged year over year. We did see that telework saw a 1.14% decline in 2024. What we're hearing both on the news and if you're on social media, we may see more of that in 2025 numbers as we close out this year. Because with return to office efforts continuing, we would see that potentially people would be called back to the office or spending more days in the office, even if they're still in a hybrid situation. Something to note, because we do report 5-year trends, in 2021, we had an all-time high of telework of 15.5%. And that's because we were right in the middle of a global pandemic and coming out of it. Also, when you look at our annual report, if you look online, in our air survey summary, something also that was significant that changed is that wellness committees and sustainability teams that were at all of our employers have really plummeted. So wellness teams went from 57% of all of our employers having a wellness team down to 5%. And sustainability groups dropped from 26% to 10%. So obviously employers are organizing their employees differently, or they have different focus. Another key measure we use for our calculations and that we report to ADEQ is number of miles to produce a pound of pollution, which was 104.1 miles per pound in 2023. And in 2024, it's now 91.7 miles must be driven to create 1 pound of pollution. So it was interesting that it went down. Generally, it was trending up. So that is something that we use when we report every month. So that's kind of one of the bigger ahas as far as metrics. Also, and this is something that Pima County people who are on, Arissa and Karen, you can stand up straight. We're excited because the TRP tracker that all of you can see at the bottom of your reminder emails that you get on Tuesdays, the TRP tracker allows you to click on the link, you enter your email and your company code, and you can see how your organization is doing. We also monitor that. So when you're in there looking around and seeing what kind of performance each of your sites and how they're doing, we see who's a user, who's not. And in October, as an example, Pima County, who has over 5,600 employees, they're a huge employer, they tracked 272 minutes looking at their performance. And we set history this year because Pima County reached a 53.2% response rate, which is a new historic high over the last 10 years. So in a decade, they have not gotten to the 53.2. So a big applause for Pima County. Karen, who is on here, she is the backup TC, but she has been doing TRP for, oh Lord, how long, Karen? How long has it been?
Since 2008.
Long time, yes. So she has seen the trials, tribulations, growth, changes, all of that. When I sent them their results and was like, wow, what did you do? That's amazing. She shared that they had the biggest team effort ever, and that because of the climate action plan for Pima County, they had a senior advisor to the county administrator that helped communicate to directors and managers, making them aware of the survey to spread the word. They also had HR that stepped in and offered 250 wellness points for taking the survey. Their communications team was sending out emails, and it was a phenomenal response, a true team effort overall. And so as you're able to see how well your group is doing, because if you have a map, you know where you're headed. When you're kind of shooting blind and you start in the beginning of the month and then you end and you don't know where you are along the way, the TRP tracker is one of those tools that, thanks to Peter's wizardry, has really empowered all of you as TCs to be able to see how you're doing. And it could be 2 a.m. if you can't sleep. I hope that's not happening to you. But it's something that you can also share with your team or with your leadership to say, this is where we're at. We really need to push so we can hit the requested 50% level of response rate. And for those of you like Mark, who's on here from Albertsons, he's got a whole basket of different locations he's got to keep track of. So he can see how each one of those different sites is doing and maybe create some healthy competition. So if you're not using that tool already, I highly recommend that you, when you get those reminder emails, and then you can always bookmark it as well. It really empowers you to say, I know who is doing it and who isn't. Some of you, I see Nick Trees on here from La Frontera. He is really good about rewarding his employees, and he keeps track of all the employee names for his location. And so every week he'll email me and ask me for a list of names that I can send to him. Everybody has the option to do that if you're not doing it already. It literally, all you have to do is email us. If it's before your survey starts, that's best. But we can go in, click a box, and all of a sudden at the bottom of each survey, it will ask for an email. Or if you wanted to make the language specific, like enter your employee number or however you track your staff. So that's also something that's available to you if you have reward systems or you want to do drawings, things like that. So there's all these little tailored things that are available to you that we've embedded into the online system. So other things to mention, we do 2 spring training sessions. They're generally scheduled in late February through early April, depending on what other balls we are juggling at the time. In 2025, we had 50 sites that attended training. And if you think of that, that's like 25% of all of our TRP sites. So between 39 people who attended our group trainings that happened in the spring, and then all the one-on-one orientations that we've done, about 25% of all of our TCs were trained this year. So any questions thus far, since we're rolling right along? Seeing no hands. All right, we'll keep going. So new recruitment tools. For a long time, TRP, in order for us to recruit a new site, we were using a scanned hard copy form, and we worked with our developers. Ashley is another developer that's part of Peter's team. We created a way to be able to send a new site. Once we identify a person, we have a phone call with them and we capture their email. It sends them a link where they can complete an online form. It captures the needed information we have to set their survey month and be able to report on their points of contact, because we require 3, a TC, a backup TC, and a GM or highest level of leadership that's locally, and the number of employees. For us, I really see this as something that it makes TRP more professional. It makes us paperless. It creates a tracking so that when we capture a new site, we're getting all the pieces of information that we need to activate them. So for us, this has been a real game changer. It seems simple. It's like, you gather the information, you get them rolling, but making it automated is a really good thing. And Thomas has been able to use that. In fact, he's probably the primary user of that right now, because he's been the one that's been doing a lot of the recruiting. Another innovation that we have that is now public, for those of you that attended in June to the task force, then we have a new TRP employer map that was created by our GIS team. We did a demo in June during the task force meeting. This new TRP employer map, it's a dynamic map. It is not a wayfinding map like Google Maps. It is a resource discovery tool. So we were going to, let's see, I'm going to try and put this in the chat. Good chat. We are not allowed to chat, are we, Isa? Nope.
No, unfortunately, we are not.
We are not chatty. All right, well, we'll send it out later. Then what I'll do is share my screen. Where is it? Here we go. Here we go. All right. So for the TC toolkit, which I hope all of you have bookmarked and know where that is, the second button right here is the TRP web map. This web map now has its own landing page. And what it is it's got some instructions on this box. And what you can do is you can type in an address. and it will pull up. It will show you bus routes. It will show you resources. It'll show you all the little boxes are other TRP employers. And you can zoom in and you can find out what type of transit is nearby, bus stops. Move this box over here. There's a whole list on this right-hand side. This is probably very tiny for you to see on this Zoom call, but once upon a time, the TRP employer map was something we could print out that was 24 by 36. It was static. And now through the magic of technology, we now have something that's online, dynamic, and it's publicly available. This map also has the transit service areas, which is not even available on the Suntran website. So it took about 3 or 4 months to put all this together, but Derek, who is one of our GIS technical staff, did a great job. I invite you to visit this map and play with it. Again, it's not wayfinding, but when you're looking at your employer site and what's available to your employees, it will show you very specifically what is around so that they can make choices on alt modes. So, all right. I know that all of you are muted, but you're saying, ooh, ah, that's so cool. So the map is really something that's pretty trick. I take 10 minutes today and go look at it. All right, moving on. The other thing that we work on this time of year is the NTD van pool report. This is it's a joyful experience for anybody involved, and Thomas can speak to that because he does the NTD report for transit. We do this every year, and with the help of the Commute with Enterprise team, I have an amazing analyst that when I get stuck, she can help me. But every October, we submit financial and vehicle data to the FTA. This NTD system is created so all the information can go into one place, and then it's what I call the Washington washing machine, and then it spits back out as 5307 FTA funds that is allocated to the city. The city of Tucson is the federally designated recipient of those funds, and then those funds are shared across the region to support transit capital purchases like Suntran and Sun Shuttle buses. With our transit working group, we work through a collaborative process, and we get input on how those dollars are allocated. So this year we are reporting on 14 vans. But the very next thing I have to share is that we finally signed a Commute with Enterprise van pool contract effective at the end of September. It's kicked off on October 1st. I saw Becky Carlson, who is on here. She is our contact for Commute with Enterprise. This has been a long time coming, Becky. So we're really hoping that in the coming months, we'll be able to look at a strategy to grow our van pool program and add additional vehicles. Van pools operate all across Arizona, and the van pool subsidy is the reason that we contract with Enterprise. So when van poolers get together, which is a driver and 6 passengers, based on mileage, we provide a subsidy. That subsidy is a pass-through funding source that comes through federal funds. So based on how far a van will go in a month, we can offer $300, $400, or $500 a month. And we work with Commute because they sign up the van poolers, they provide the vehicles, they have the roadside assistance, oil changes, everything is all inclusive, including insurance. We've been working with Commute for, will it be almost 10 years now? And so big things planned in the coming years as we look at adding additional subsidy funds to that program. And my goal would be if we could double it by next year, that'd be wonderful. Anybody who has long commutes or has groups that are working the same shift, van pools can be a great solution because it's a way to reduce those groups and their costs for getting to the work site. All right, so that van pool contract is a 3-year contract with 2 optional years. So 25 to 2030 is probably when the next time they'll go through that. We went through an RFP process and we started that a year ago. Very happy that that's all done now. So now we are going to go on to TRP program updates. We've talked a little bit about the online portal and how we use that for both surveys that we do, both the monthly TRP employee surveys and the AIR survey. In January of 26, we have some additional online updates that have happened. I mentioned Peter is our wizard. He has installed new API and geocode updates. So most of you will not be able to actually see what is different, but what this means is that all of the mapping libraries and the mapping API is going to enhance the geocoding and improve the data that's collected by all of our TRP surveys that we do every month. The TRP data that we capture informs the modeling efforts that happens at PAG. So we have a big group of people that do modeling. We also run the EPA moves model. That is how we get to the number we use when we report to ADEQ, the one that I said went from 104 to 97. So this is a big deal for us. When we have nice, clean data, we get very excited. So that will roll out in January. So if for whatever reason, if you are a surveying employer in January or February, if you see anything at all that is a hiccup or is not behaving correctly, please contact us. We have been testing it, so we believe that it should be a smooth rollout. But as always, just email us and we'll jump right on it and take care of that. Next is employer engagement. We've been working to identify new employers for TRP. We spoke about how, we got a bigger number of responses in 2024, and we're always looking for new employers to join TRP. We fully understand that in Pima County, the enforcement or the way that we implement the program is a little bit different than in Maricopa. I will mention for those that are new to joining our task force meeting that in Maricopa, the county attorney is in full support of leveraging fines. And so in Maricopa County, their ordinance states that you will get a 60% response rate. Otherwise, they have the ability to leverage a $300 a day penalty. So be happy you live in Tucson and that we work with people, provide extensions, we'll bend over backwards to help you get to that 50% mark. That is what we're asking for. And data is the most important. We are not an enforcement agency. PAG is not going to take out a policy billy club. We are going to work with our jurisdictions if there is a severe problem. But the goal is just to have everybody understand why this is an important program, the benefits that come to the employees by being aware of what their commute options are, and that by just responding and participating in the TRP annual employee survey, it just helps us as a community to plan for transportation and community projects. So in 2024, Thomas, you can stand up and take a bow, because he is the one that has brought on the new employers. So new to us is Legacy Charter Schools, that we brought in 174 employees, excuse me. And we also revived AAA Landscape. Ironically, they also have 174 employees. Bonnie is joining us this morning. Amazon had 2 sites and we added 2 more. So the Amazon Northwest site on Silverbell has 205 employees, and SAZ3, which is on the south side, 204 employees. We also are engaging with Lowe's Home Improvement Stores. They're going to add 437 employees and 4 sites. So that's a grand total of 1,194 new employees that are joining TRP. For us, it's kind of I mentioned earlier that the one thing that does go up and down a lot is the total count of employees. We're working with 13 employers who had poor response rates, like really low, like 10% or less. We want them to understand TRP. We believe that oftentimes it is just a lack of, it's a knowledge gap. So once they understand how important it is, they get on board. And then in 2024, because we report this in our annual report, we had 4 non-compliant employers, and the annual report requires us to share those. I'm not going to read out loud and shame them, but we had 4 non-participants. So something for all of you, just an interesting factoid to know, is that the top 20 employers in Pima County make up 97,301 employees. That's 65.5% of all of our TRP participants. So we talked about the number fluctuating. We took a big hit this year because Raytheon adjusted its employee count by 1,000, and the University of Arizona adjusted their employee count and went down by nearly 2,000. So we were, like I said, we were really close to 150,000, and now we're at 145,000. So the challenge is on to climb back up and see if we can hit 150,000 again. And even this morning, Seracom, I got an email this morning because with the change in our economics, Seracom was bought out by a different company. That's 348 employees that we're going to have to figure out. Can we connect with that new owner? Are they keeping people in Pima County? So TRP is very dynamic when it comes to sites and the different people that are involved and who owns who and what's going on. So we ask that you, if you have a new company coming on that's large, that's near you, refer us. Keep us informed of your employee count changes along with any contact changes. Now, Thomas, you had some ideas or wanted to share about employee engagement.
Absolutely, with pleasure, Mary. So thank you all for coming out today. It is greatly appreciated to see all this engagement and see people who are interested in the program and what we offer to the community and how we collaborate together to produce this data that is then used to allocate resources as effectively as possible. So in previous years, one thing I've noticed, at least my time working with the travel reduction program, is more just a lack of awareness from the community that we exist for the most part, and that we are an active part that provides and helps support the community as a whole. And I think for goals for this coming full calendar year is to really just have more of a community presence. And one thing that I ask y'all as TCs, especially if you work in HR or if you're involved in different communities with your professional career, such as like Tucson SHRM or other such programs, talk about us to some other professionals, because who knows, there may be companies that have 100 or more employees that would benefit from being a part of the program and is thus also a part of the ordinance requirement for them to be a part of the program. Get them in touch. Let us know. A main goal for myself, at least, is to increase public engagement and community engagement moving forward. And I think that's something that we can all take part in and we can all work towards achieving.
Excellent. Thanks, Thomas.
Absolutely, Mary. Anytime.
So one of the things that is important for TRP is understanding, because as soon as you tell somebody you have to do something, the first, why? So understanding the why, I had shared the TC toolkit earlier. The program overview is posted up there. We've tried to put a lot of different tools on that TC toolkit webpage so that it makes it as easier as possible for people to administer surveys and follow what is needed. Also, if you have an intranet or any place that you post information for other employees, there's a lot of articles and resources. You can also share out on social media, however you communicate. I think a lot of companies use Slack and different tools. You can grab any of those. Nothing is protected. It's all available to you. Also, your communications teams that are part of your organizations, direct them to that website. They have access to all of that. As we continue fare-free transit in Pima County, anybody who's struggling or needs to be able to get from point A to point B, I mean, transit is free, and routing and the ability to go online and plan a trip, that is something that can be super useful for individuals who either don't have access to a vehicle or they're one vehicle family, and there's others in the household that need to go from point A to point B. Also, paratransit trips are also free. So if there's members of a family, if they share that information with others in their group, there are others that may benefit from being aware that that's available to them. And there's phone numbers they can call, they can schedule paratransit or dial-a-ride trips. And then certainly with fixed route, being able to see what is the map, where does it go? You can ride your bike to the bus stop, put your bike on the bus. So any of those possibilities or combinations of commuting is available. But it's very hard to get excited about something if you don't know about it. So mentioning to anyone, did you know? It's just sharing information, which is like sharing power. So, all right, any questions? Not seeing any questions. You're all in.
Hi.
Yes, Monica from City.
Hi, just wanted to mention the TRP web map is really cool. If you guys could share the link or by email or by chat, whenever you have a chance, that would be great. And
Absolutely.
thank you and congratulations for all your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Monica's with the City of Tucson. She's involved in a lot of things, transit and otherwise, aren't you, Monica?
Lots of hats to wear here,
Yes.
as you
yes.
yourself know.
Yes, it is juggling. I'm happy to have Thomas. He helps share the load, but yeah. We work with the City of Tucson a lot, and certainly with transit especially. So we're happy that Monica could be here. The city, it's thanks to the city council that transit is fare free right now. So, and with that, I'm going to use it as a lead-in, and part of, it's Pima Association of Governments. One of the agencies that is under the PAG umbrella is the taxing district, the RTA, Regional Transit Authority. Because I am an employee of PAG, I cannot tell you how to vote, but all I do ask is that you become educated. And when you know more, you can have a better opinion. So I am going to share so that you know, so that I'm doing my duty of showing you where to go look if you're interested. There is what's called an RTA Next site. It's rtanext.com. It does not get any more simple than that. So it's a 0.5-cent sales tax. The ballot is going to be going out in January with a deadline of March 10th. You can look at the RTA Next plan, and there's also these fact sheets that are at the bottom of the page. And as we do more and more outreach and we look at who is supporting it and why, I plead to all of you that you look at this website, you are aware and informed so that when the ballot comes out, you can have your voice heard and you are able to weigh in on the direction you hope it will go, and that the elements of the plan, which include both roadway, wildlife, crossings, transit, all of those that are included in that plan will be funded by the continuation of, or if it doesn't continue, then those are also addressed in those fact sheets. So please tell at least 2 people that you know about RTA Next. You can, based on your own assessment, influence which way you want them to go. But RTA Next is going to be very important to our community and to our region. So please get educated, please look at the information, and please share it with others. Then my last one, look, we are at 10:43. We are tracking at 45 minutes. This is beautiful. My last point that I need to share with all of you is that the TRP task force, all of you who are members, have been serving for 2 years, 24 to 26. We will be conducting next month the recruitment of and placement of the 26 to 28 TRP task force. If you are currently in a seat and you wish to continue, because it requires 2 meetings a year, I ask for you to email Thomas or I, or let us know that you're interested in continuing. For jurisdictional partners, if you are going to shift to someone else in your agency, that's fine, but jurisdictional seats remain. Jurisdictions are required to participate in the task force, but we are looking for 10 companies that wish to be part of the task force, because we have a roster of 10 employers, and then we have all of our jurisdictional partners, and that is what makes up the TRP task force. So we will be emailing out nomination forms to all the CEOs or GMs that are listed for your sites. And then if we know in advance who wants to stay in place, that means we won't be bugging you. But if you want to self-nominate, you certainly can. If you have a coworker that's going to be taking over the role that you're playing now, you can also fill that out and send it in. But we need 10 employers, and then we'll have our jurisdictional partners, and then we will announce in January the new task force for 2026 to 2028. One thing I should mention as far as TRP task force members, you also can have access to the TRP task force viewer, which is part of our online system. It is what we created that replaces the 100-page plus packet we used to send out years ago. So it has all the metrics. It shows who's performing, who's not. So if you need access to that, it's very easy. You just register and we grant you access. So we would love to see our largest employers participate. We always like to have a diverse representation. So whether it's from the mechanical engineering industry, healthcare, we have Renee, who is on from Pima Community College, U of A generally as a participant. Derek is on here from Raytheon. So anybody who is interested and wants to serve on the TRP task force, we welcome you. If I had to go to 12 members, I certainly could, but we do have a minimum of 10. So any questions about that? Seeing none, I'm going to celebrate it. We're at 10:46 for this meeting, and we have reviewed everything. I want to thank you all for spending a portion of your morning, and I want to say happy holidays to everyone, because Thanksgiving is around the corner. So I wore my pumpkin colored shirt today so I could be the great pumpkin while talking to all of you. And I wish you happy holidays. Thanks for your time. Send us questions if you have them, and we'll send out the link to the map.
Okay, thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.